everyone, Rob here. I think it's the first time I've actually appeared on camera in one of these things. So, apologies. I've not shaven. I'm pretty messy, but I just felt I needed to do this, and that was a quiet part of my Monday morning that I could do this. So, it's just another Fairlight update. He says, as if he does them all the time. It's been a while, I will admit, and there's been a lot going on since the last one. So I think the last time we spoke, or you looked at what we were doing or what I was doing, I just moved here into this new place, and we'd got the Fairlight up here into the studio, and we'd started to mess around with the keyboard, and the keyboard was a little bit of a mess. So there were broken contacts and things going on, so we needed to get those repaired. And also a lot of the keys weren't returning properly, so we needed to inspect that. So we opened it up, and once we cleared out a lot of the crap that had gathered there over 30 years, we discovered that a lot of the springs were rusted, and they needed replacing or sorting out of, in some way. We also found that there was a lot of corrosion, very light corrosion, but it was corrosion nonetheless, clearly from being stored in a damp place for a very long period of time. Nothing had rusted, nothing had broken, because these things are just made like brick shit houses, so they last. But on the underside, the key contacts, they were like 90% fine, but there were a few that were broken. And so we needed to get some new contacts, do some cleaning. So we had all of that to do, and we were still having a few issues with the mainframe, or the CPU, or whatever people want to call it, the box of tricks that does all the cool stuff. So we got it working, and I think we got 7 out of the 8 voice cards operational, and we seemed to have a slightly dodgy one, so we thought, well, maybe it's just the card. And everything else seemed to be okay, but we'd power the machine up, and it would boot up beautifully, smoothly. It would get to all the pages and the menus, and we'd start going through. And after about 15, 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour, depending on how it felt, so it seemed, the whole thing would start to crash and burn and just either stop working or throw out all sorts of weird error messages, and you'd have to reboot. And when you rebooted, the system then failed to boot. So it seemed like something had gone wrong and was continuing to go wrong until you left it a considerable period of time, half an hour, hour or so, started it again, and it would be okay. Now, this should have obviously, why this didn't occur to me straight away, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I rely on Peter Wilk to be that expert, and I'm not criticising him, because obviously he's the other side of the world, so he has a very good excuse. He's relying on me to report this stuff properly, and how I didn't pick this up, I will never know, and I feel utterly ashamed, but clearly not that much, because I'm telling you about it on YouTube. So it turns out that the Fairlight mainframe has a considerable number of fans, and there are 6 alone in the base of the unit, and there are 4 below the digital card cage. So essentially, you've got 2 card cages in the mainframe, one at the front, which is accessed by the drop-down panel, and that is called the digital card cage. So in there you have the computer cards that run the computer system, the operating system. You have the SCSI controllers, the floppy disk controllers, the graphics cards, the memory cards, and of course the all-important voice cards. And then at the back of the machine you have the other card cage, which deals with all the outputs and the inputs. So you have your analog outs, your analog ins, your digital outs and ins, your MIDI controls, your audio routers, your video outputs, your keyboard outputs, and all of that stuff. So they don't necessarily do as much work as the digital cards, and they're just kind of regular electronics, whereas obviously the digital cards are lots and lots of microchips and capacitors and all sorts of things going on, and they do need proper cooling. And anyway, so this didn't occur to me, and Peter Wilk graced me with his presence for an entire weekend. He was over from Australia, and he came and stayed here for a whole weekend, we had a great time. The man's a legend, and I hope that we can do more with him soon. And when I say do more, talk to him and get his knowledge and experience and stuff. And anyway, so we started work on the keyboard, and Peter was WD-40 and contact cleaner and rubber erasers and screwdrivers and all sorts of things. We managed to get that working pretty well, and we reduced the number of springs we needed to replace. We just cleaned it and freed everything up and oiled things up. So there's just a little bit more work to do on that. But then we took a look at the CPU, the mainframe, and we powered it up, and it was working beautifully. And we were playing sounds and testing settings, and we found another voice card, and we popped that in, and that seemed to work. And then after about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the whole thing started to go wrong. So we stripped it out, and when we flipped it over, and that's not an easy thing to do, this is a heavy bitch. When we flipped it over and took the base off, we discovered that of the 6 fans, 1 was working. And so it was obvious that what was happening with the digital cards were overheating. So this was mildly embarrassing, but nonetheless not a difficult problem to fix, because fans are fans. So the beauty of the Fairlight is its construction, or one of the beauties of the Fairlight is its construction, and that it is pretty modular, and it's built just so beautifully. So the fans aren't an integral part of some large board or some big panel. Everything comes on sub-assemblies. So the first 4 fans that sit beneath the digital card cage have their own assembly. The other 2 fans at the back over the other card cage, they're on their own assembly. And the power connection is a nice little daisy chain affair from the main power supply. So it really wasn't very difficult at all to unscrew these sub-assemblies and unclip the power and get them ready for repair. And at this point, my good friend and work colleague, as in my day job, Howard, who had expressed a great interest in this and had actually helped me load and collect this instrument from its previous resting place. He is a real genius when it comes to electronics. He's got some qualification. He's a very clever boy. So he was more than happy to take these sub-assemblies away. He's ordered new fans, and those fans are being delivered as we speak. They are the latest, quietest, silicon-mounted affairs. And so the CMI, which has always had a reputation for being a bit of a noisy thing, hopefully will be a little less noisy when these get replaced. So that should happen in the next week or so. Hence why I'm doing a talking head video and not an actual demonstration, because if I was to boot this thing up now, I would need lots of air being pushed through. Otherwise it would just crash, and it just wouldn't be very nice. So I will probably do another one of these in a few weeks' time to show you a fully operational and properly cooled Fairlight CMI Series 3. So that's the situation at the moment. So once we get those fans done, we should have a fully operational and fully specified CMI 3 with all of Peter's libraries installed on the hard drive. And the keyboard should be almost good to go. We're just waiting for some more springs to come through. And then it's just going to be like just the tiny details, like just replacing some of the screws that or cleaning them up, certainly, because there is this kind of surface corrosion that's going on, and the integrity of a lot of the hardware is absolutely fine. It's just getting this surface stuff off. So we need to I feel I should do that because it just makes it a little nicer. But other than that, it should be good to go. And then once that's done, then it's bye-bye time. It will get sold, unfortunately. But here's the other news. If you've been reading the blog, you might have seen that I've since acquired a Series 2X. And the Series 2X is it's the definitive CMI. It's the one that made the CMI famous. It's the one that everybody remembers, whether they know the CMI or not, it's the one that came up with all of those wonderful sounds and was used on so many wonderful records. The Series 3, fantastic as it is, was a little too good, a little too clean. It was trying to keep up with the times and became incredibly good and has a massive sonic range, but it's a little too clean, a little too nice, whereas the 2X was gritty and funky and just did stuff in a slightly different way and was more characterful. Is that a word? I suppose it is. Anyway, so I've got one of those downstairs. Now, again, this has been done in conjunction with Peter Wilk of Horizontal Productions, and we picked this up from Tony Gallagher in Bath. So if you're a big Fairlight restoration expert or fan of any kind, you'll know Tony's name. And we picked this up from Tony down in Bath, and we got it back up to Suffolk here. It's in a, I wouldn't say a particularly sorry state, except it is missing the monitor with the light pen. It's missing the music keyboard. It's missing the alpha keyboard. In fact, it's missing everything apart from the main shell. So Peter brought some cards up from Australia. We managed to get the computer section running, which was very interesting. And I'm hoping to intercut some photos at this point now. And we used we actually used this. If I can get this into shot. See this? This is a Casio LCD television that I managed to pick up from an acquaintance on Facebook, actually, who found it in his loft and just wanted to get rid and said he'd send it to me for the cost of the postage, which I was very grateful for, because I use it in my studio here as a monitor for my DVD audio and Super Audio CD players, so I don't have to have a big TV. It's just a little one. And Peter had jerry-rigged this cable up with a composite video plug on one end. I've got it around here somewhere. And a CMI card, graphics card plug on the other. And it worked. So we actually had the monitor, and it showed that the computer section of the 2X was booting up perfectly. So all we now need to do is add in all the voice cards, and we should be pretty good to go. So that's the next project, and we hope to get the other bits. I think we've sourced a Series 2 music keyboard, and again, I think that's from Tony. And it might actually be the one that was originally with this one. So we're going to try and get that up here as well. Peter's going to send a monitor at some point, or find one that we can, preferably in the UK, because these things don't travel that well. He will send me the alpha keyboard for it. Chances are it'll be a Fairlight Lightwriter keyboard, so it's a little bit bigger than the original CMI one, but it has all the functions and it's still built like a tank. So we've got that coming, and so that'll be the next project. And in the last couple of days, been bouncing some emails with Peter, who's now back in Sydney, and we think we've sourced another Series 3 CMI that is in this country. So again, if that deal goes through, that will come and live here, and we'll do some stuff with that and make that good to go. And also there should be at some point a permanent Fairlight installed here very soon, and I'm very excited about that. So let me, as you can see, we're still kind of in pieces, oiled and cleaned, and the monitor's there, and mainframe's still down there. So we are in works in progress, but as I said at the very beginning of this project, it's going to be slow, but that's okay, because I'm learning all the time. And I went through a phase initially, I will admit this now, that when I first fired the Series 3 up, I was shocked, or my mind was shocked, my system was shocked at how much I had to unlearn to get my head around the way this thing worked properly, and how to get it to do stuff. But once I got into it, it becomes very intuitive very quickly, and really, I'm really excited. When I fired this up when Peter was here, I hadn't fired it up for a few months, and it was enthralling. I loved it, absolutely. You know, just really got into it. And then Peter comes up and he starts showing a lot of these shortcuts, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's simple. That's really cool. Yeah, that's good. And then of course the thing starts to overheat, and I can't use it anymore. So I'm really, you know, chomping at the bit, and I really want to get in and learn these things fully. You know, from every angle. Not that there's a great future in being a Fairlight expert nowadays, or maybe there is. I don't know. But it's great fun, and Peter is an absolute gentleman and just such a lovely bloke. And we've discussed recently about doing lots of work together, as much as we can, and sharing in the benefits of these projects, both financial and, you know, spiritual, or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's just great fun to do, and it's just, I've just got such a passion for these machines. And of course, Peter is still supplying these machines to the rich and famous. BT has just bought one, not British Telecom, the music person, Brian Tronso. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. But he's just bought a Series 3 from Peter, and we should hopefully be hearing something from him very soon. And of course, he's very influential, so you never know, he might start a new craze. Everybody might start going for Fairlights. And they still trade for good amounts of money, so there are people out there that definitely want them. I mean, Stuart Copeland's stuff, his Series 3 was on eBay just very recently, and selling for rather too much money, certainly for a machine that hasn't been fully serviced. I'd expect to pay that for a fully serviced and cleaned and polished version, but not that, not even with his name attached to it. But yeah, that's another point. There was even a CMI 30A on eBay just recently, selling for a fraction of its original price, which was surprising considering the hardware inside and how much it must have cost the original purchaser. But they're still a popular thing. So anyway, there we go. What's this? We're getting almost 20 minutes now. I do like to talk. Everybody knows this. I get criticised for it. So I'm conscious that I'm going to shut up now. So there's the Fairlight. It's here. It's working. We are close to completion on this project, and we've got more to come, which is going to be really, really exciting, especially with the 2X. That's the one I'm really excited about. That's my favourite. And I was having this conversation over a glass of wine with Peter, and I said, look, come on. You've been working with these machines for 30 odd years. You know them inside out. You're probably, with all due respect to everyone else, the world's leading expert on these machines. What one's your favourite? Which one do you prefer? And I'm sat here thinking he's going to say, a fully spec Series 3 because it's, the latest and the greatest. And he turned around and he said, it's really no question. It's the 2X, because it was the cool, funky game changer. I don't think he used those exact words, but that's kind of what he said. And I have to agree. It was the one that changed everything. For me, that's the one that I would dearly love to own. And fingers crossed, that could happen a lot sooner than I ever thought, let alone anybody else. And of course, my very patient wife, who just kind of goes, okay, and lets me get on with this stuff. So, thank you very much for watching. Today's the 27th of October 2014. It's my wedding anniversary. Way. So what I'm hoping to do is have another video for you within the next 4 to 6 weeks, once we've refitted all the fans, put all the cards in, and sorted the keyboard out, and we've probably got a fully operational CMI. And I guess the next video might be the one that we use to promote its sale. But yes, it's got to go. This is a business after all, but it's a business that we love. So thanks for watching. Tune in again soon, and hope you're well. Have a great Halloween if you're into that kind of thing. I'm not. But yeah, peace and love and all that good stuff to you. Thank you. Bye.